Hey, CHIC-CHAT. So listen, what do y'all do when you run across situations where maybe it's your friend or family member, it might even be, you know, some of your cousins or sister, brother, kids or whatever, but excuse me, they bad and they disrespectful. How do y'all handle that? You know, it's not you, it's not your kids, but when they come around, whether it's a family gathering, whether, you know, your friend stopping by the home, you know, whatever it may be that brings you into their presence, and you understand clearly that they don't have a hold of that situation. The kids talk to them any kind of way. They talk in front of them. There's no level of respect. Now, some people may say they don't mind their children cursing, right? Maybe it's a whole family of people who curse. So maybe that's not considered disrespectful to them because that's okay in their home culture. However, in the big picture, the big culture, you wouldn't want that child going into an interview cursing. You wouldn't want that child speaking to their professors in college or, you know, upper management, and the only words they know how to use are curse words, and they feel comfortable in their conversation with elders and with people who are in authoritative positions. They feel okay speaking like that because they spoke like that around their parents. And they really don't even know the difference at this point, when to use it, when not to use it. So how do you handle those situations? Do you ignore them? Because it's been my experience that a lot of times people will just try to ignore the behaviors. Not that they won't talk about them or discuss them with other people, but in that moment they may ignore them because they don't want to embarrass the friend or the family member. You know, they don't want to make them feel some type of way, so they ignore it sometimes. Now, just depending on how disrespectful it gets or how bad the behavior gets, you know, there still are some elders that will step in and say, nah, you got to handle that with that kid, you know, or will try to pull the kid to the side and have a conversation with the child. Now, these days and times, we all know that that's not necessarily even possible sometimes for two reasons. A lot of parents don't want you saying nothing to their kids, and a lot of kids cannot be talked to, you know, without becoming extra aggressive with you or extra disrespectful with you. So oftentimes there are barriers to helping make corrections when you see certain things going on. So again, that may cause people to just be silent and don't say nothing, you know. Now, when you do that, you know, does it, you know, if you're the type that you would be silent, does it help the parent any? Does it help the parent or does it help the kid? You know, does it help those behaviors? For me, sometimes I like to just observe. I like to just observe the behavior and see, number one, what triggers the behavior. When do they start acting like that? Do they start acting like that when mom has company? Do they start acting like that when mom tells them no? Do they start acting like that when they want to, you know, do a certain thing or go a certain place or eat a certain thing? Like, I like to pay attention to the triggers. Do they just do that to their mom but they don't do that to their dad? Or do they do that to their auntie but they don't do that to their mom? I love to see what is the trigger, because what I noticed that is sometimes when the kid is disrespectful to the parent, Sometimes, not all the times, because there's so many different reasons why that kid could be disrespectful to that parent. But sometimes, if that kid is not dealing with any mental health issues and they just dealing with some angry behavior issues, what I noticed the most reasons for that disrespect is, number one, they have seen that parent do too much stuff. That parent has not lived a life where they were, exercising enough privacy. They exposed their kid to too much too soon. And because that parent was exposing that kid to a whole lot of adult situations, a whole lot of adult conversations, now that parent has to deal with every now and then that kid thinks they're an adult. Why? Because that kid was able to listen to adult conversations, chime in, add their little 2 cents into the conversation, sit up around the mama and her homegirls while they talk all about such and such and this, that, or the third. So then, back to everyday regular life, you want that kid to constantly function as an adult, but you have allowed that kid to be in grown adult situations and spaces. So I find that to be one of the reasons why kids can be disrespectful sometimes. Not even necessarily meaning to show up as an adult or to be talking, like they grown, but just because they have been allowed to sit in adult spaces. And I've also observed where if it's a situation where that child may not act like that with a parent or one of the parents, but then they act like that with the auntie or they act like that with the dad, it's because they done sat with the mom or sit around other people and listen to that adult talk negatively about that person. So now they have some negative feelings about that person. When that person, because they're a child, so they may not be able to differentiate the fact that this adult may be great to them. They just going off of what they done heard their mama them say about their daddy, what they done heard their mama them say about their aunties and uncles, this, that, and the third. So as soon as they get an opportunity to flip off at their mouth and repeat some of that stuff, they do it. To have an attitude, I don't have to listen to you, you don't pay no bills over here, because they heard an adult say that. Again, it connects back to allowing that child to be in adult spaces. So now there's some disrespect there when it comes to, there's a level of disrespect there when it comes to being able to respect adults, respect elders. Now we also living in a time when every parent doesn't expect their children to show respect to other adults. In their mind, they feel like it's levels to that. My child doesn't have to do this or do that to you. Even if you are an elder, even if you are an adult. So we living in a time where the ideologies of parents differ greatly. And that extends beyond culture and within the culture, right? Because there was a time when you could say black people kids, and black people raise their kids like this, and then white people may raise their kids like this, right? It was a situation where I remember when it was like, oh, only white kids acted up in the store, only white kids talked it back to their parents and grandparents in the store, this, that, or third. Oh, that's no longer. That's no longer. Because I have seen mamas and daddies jack them kids up who are, white, Spanish, I done seen them jack them up right on in the store, or right where they go wrong at. And then I have seen black parents laugh at it, you know, and sometimes the laugh is out of embarrassment, and sometimes the laugh is because they feel that what they're doing and saying is okay. You know, so I've seen the tables turn on that. So nowadays, the disrespect that children do is cross cultures. It's all within the culture and extends, you know, cross cultures. But the one thing that I feel like really do weigh the most when it comes to that is the fact of a lot of times when adults live certain ways, they live a certain way in front of children, they don't carry themselves in the way that they should carry themselves, right? They don't keep it adult, keep it clean, keep it cordial, keep it respectful. They don't do that as an example. So if they're not doing that as an example, it's going to be hard for you to expect that they will have children who do that, right? And of course, people like to say, well, don't do as I do, do as I say. But children mimic what they see. Children mimic what they see. It's not until they get older where they're able to decipher the two. Yes, my mom did this, but I can't go and do that. I saw my dad do this, but I can't do that. That's not going to be beneficial if I do it, right? But when they're coming up, they mimic what they see. They repeat what they see. They repeat what they hear. And a lot of today's youth, and when I say youth, I mean like younger than me, and they had children, and they, you know, a lot of times when you're having children at a young age, when your kids kind of grow up together, so naturally they're going to be exposed to what you're doing sometimes, especially if you don't go out your way to make sure they don't see it. So because your kids have watched you get high and watched you be dead drunk in the living room, watch you have, you know, some sexual stuff going on with your boyfriends or your girlfriends or whatever. Now they 11 and they repeating the same stuff, and you wondering where they got it from, because they seen you. It might have been 2 years prior, but they seen you doing it. You think he got it from when he went over his grandmama's house or was hanging with his uncle. No. He saw you in the living room that night on the floor on your knees, baby. He saw he when he stayed the night at his daddy's house. He saw his daddy take his wife up through them, and he was peeking in the door. So a lot of times kids have seen so much and have, you know, just been exposed to so much adult stuff that them kids don't know how to be kids. Because how do they process all of that, what they just seen? They don't even hardly know what it is. How can they process it and do the right thing with that information? And do the right thing with this new knowledge that they have, and do the right thing with these nasty words they just heard said. Do the right thing with these cuss words. How can they not repeat it? It sounded so good when it was coming from their mama. It sounded like she sure enough knew what she was talking about when she was cussing that lady out. It sounded real good. How can they not want to repeat it? How can they not want to repeat when their teacher tell them, now you can't use the bathroom, or now you can't get up and sharpen your pencil? How can they not want to tell her what they heard their mama tell that lady? And then when you turn around as a parent and piss them off, how can they not want to tell it to you? When it just naturally rolled off your tongue so wonderful. That's why they be puffing up, and because boy, they be on the verge of telling you something. They be on the verge of telling you something or doing you something. You hear me? They be on the verge of doing you something. And most everybody have been in that situation where they huffed up, puffed up, You know, maybe even thought they took a swing at their parent or whatever. You know, when they get a certain age, well, I ain't even gonna say when they get a certain age, because nowadays it ain't no certain age. They do it at all different types of ages. And you know, I don't see how, as a parent, how you can't be embarrassed when your children are acting out. But the thing was, sometimes you wasn't embarrassed when you was setting that example for them. But now you embarrassed when you have to be on the other end experiencing and looking at them do it. And then, you know, you have the parents that now they start making excuses for the behaviors instead of owning it, saying, you know what, I exposed them to too much. I did that. That's my fault. That's my bad. And not only, you know, once you can really say that as a parent and you acknowledge that, now you got to get into, you know, if they're of a certain age, then you got to get into the deprogramming of that. Hey, when you saw me do X, Y, and Z, that was wrong. I shouldn't have did it. Make sure you're not doing that. Make sure you're not speaking like that. Make sure you're not showing up and acting like that. You know, I think we forget that sometimes, you know, when we leave the house, we are as children, and that's grown and underage. We are representatives of the people who raised us. We are that. How you show up in life, it is a example of who's spoken to your life, who was present in your life, what they did for you, what they did to you. You are that. Now, a lot of people can say, hey, I didn't raise them like that. I didn't raise them to be like that. Maybe you did raise them to be like that, but did you raise them to not be like that? And I think sometimes that's the part that parents miss. You know what I'm saying? Like, follow me. Like, you not telling them to curse, but you not telling them why they shouldn't. You know, and I'm just using cursing as an example because, hey, some people allow their kids to do that. But whatever it is, you're not telling them, hey, go to school and disrespect your teacher. But you're not telling them why they shouldn't do it and what that's going to lead to if they do it. So I just think that sometimes you got to do, you know, you got to set that, you got to give them both ends of it, the what to do's and the why you shouldn't do it, and the what's going to happen if you don't do it. You know, so it's easy to say, hey, I didn't raise them like that. They seen me work all my life. Okay, so you assume they're gonna be a worker because they seen you work all their life. Well, what they didn't see and what they don't know about is what happens when you aren't a worker. So then when they become a person that don't work and thinking that you're gonna take care of them because that's what you've done for the beginning stages of their life, well, they never got to see what it looks like when you don't work. They never got to see the opposite end of that. And it wasn't drilled into them. It wasn't shown them, hey, you're going to have to work. Even if it's a part-time while you're in high school, you got to get a job because I got to show you now why you have to work and the importance of doing so, or the importance of starting a business, or, you know, I have to show you both ways. I have to show you that you have to do it, and I have to show you what's going to happen when you don't do it. why it's important not to do certain things, you know. And of course, that's not to put all of any blame on a parent, because you do have parents who have done both. You do have parents who have did the very best they can, you know, expose their kid to the best things in life, just did their big one. And for those parents, I say, give yourself grace, because you did everything that you knew to do. You did everything possible to do. Give yourself some grace, because oftentimes, no matter what you pour into them, you still gotta have some buy-in from that kid. And if that kid is just dead set on doing the opposite of what you have shown them and what you have put into them, that is sometimes what they're going to do, and they're just gonna live and learn some things the hard way. And that is sometimes a hard pill for parents to swallow, but that's just the reality of life. Once you have done everything that you could do, and you did it with love. Because sometimes people think that, oh, I did everything I could do, but you nag the kid to death every day. You cuss them out every which way, all the time. What you think you instilling in them by cussing them out constantly? What is it exactly that you're doing besides making them rough and tough and mean and making them not like you? The one thing I think we have to understand and we have to know and be able to accept sometimes is that we get it wrong sometimes. We get it wrong. We went about it the wrong way. We had the right intention. We wanted to do the best that we could, but how we went about doing it wasn't a best practice. And it ain't no one way to just do it. But there are better ways that we can do it. And of course, yeah, I'm saying all this, and this is definitely coming from a person who don't have kids. But because I done had my hand in helping raise so many, I could talk this talk. Because I ain't talking about what I heard, I'm talking about what I know. And that's why I say, like, sometimes I just sit back and just pay attention. And I could read you the whole story just by paying attention to why they're disrespecting you and when they're disrespecting you. I can tell you, because she's seeing you getting high. That's why she don't have no respect for you. You talk to her like a dog. That's why she don't have no respect for you. You got a favorite in this house. That's why he don't have no respect for you. All it takes sometimes is just to sit back and observe, and you can tell the whole story of why this is going on like this. You talk to this kid like they your age and they your best friend. That's why she thinks she's supposed to sit up and talk about your best friend and her kids. You don't put them training grown people situations too many times. So yeah, let me just, encourage people who y'all may have family and friends. And we ain't even gonna talk about how some of the parents allow their kids to dress. You bought that foolishness for them. You thought that was cute for her to have on a half shirt, a half top, and she's 11 and full figure already. But then when she 15 and sneaking boys in the room, you gonna think she did you something. No, baby, you been creating this moment for a while. Yeah, you created this moment. You've been working on this ever since that child was 7 and you was having them in a little bit of shorts. You've been creating a moment for her to become a teenage parent. So now go ahead and put on your grandma big panties and go ahead and help her raise that baby. Don't start cussing her out now, calling her all kind of this, that, or the third. No. You helped groom her into promiscuity. It was cute, even though it never really was cute. So yeah, you know, I encourage y'all to have parents, you have family members and friends who they may be struggling with the disrespect, struggling with the behaviors. You know, it's helpful all of that though too. You know, tell them they can reach out to some organizations and stuff that will, you know, try to help with the behaviors. There's counseling, there's therapies, there's all kind of stuff that can come in and help not just the kid, but help the parents figure out where they're going wrong and how to restructure this house, how to, you know, set boundaries. You know, it is a lot of help, but I see it with a lot of parents, they think that the problem lies only within the child. And usually, no, it's a family affair. Some places where the parent went wrong and that's causing the kid to go wrong. And like I said, that's outside of any other additional problems. That's just plain stuff that I'm talking about, because sometimes, you know, kids are having behaviors and problems for other reasons. I ain't talking about those reasons. I'm just talking about when you just have, you know, did some things or not did some things that could have prevented those behaviors. So yeah, y'all got some friends that might need this little pep talk, might need a little wake up, this little wake up 1-2. Send it to them. They might think you being funny, but one thing about it, you know, even if you never really admit it, you know yourself. Hey, yeah, they is a little bit out of pocket. My children grown or my children bad. Sometimes parents will even give you that. They'll go ahead and tell you that ahead of time. Just, you know, him, he just bad. Or hey, you know, her, she disrespectful. She, you know, they'll go ahead and tell you. They already know sometimes, you know. But everybody could use a little help in that area. Like they say, it don't come with no book, you know, and everybody don't get it right. And sometimes you really did try. You gave all that you had. You gave what your parents gave you, what you knew, you know, and it still didn't come out right, you know. So that's why I say, you know, you got to give yourself some grace. But, you know, never stop wanting to learn about being better, especially if it's for your kids. You know, never stop wanting to learn about being a better parent. You know, of course, your kids, they love you, but you know, it is an area where you can stand to grow, where you can stand to learn, where you can stand to, you know, just become a little stronger in that area. If not for your kids, maybe it'll be for your grandkids. You know, maybe you will be able to teach your children things that you didn't know as a parent, so that they could use those techniques and use those things when they become a parent, right? So yeah, y'all, I love kids, love all things kids, and being able to be a kid and live a great kid life, you know. So yeah, that's the talk for today. Y'all enjoy your day.